Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. I'm Gary Spain and I'm joined by Ger Brown, and this is the preview for Republic of Ireland v Azerbaijan at 5 o'clock tomorrow, Saturday, in the Aviva Stadium. So how are you today, Ger?
I'm all good, Gary. I'm all set and getting ready to actually head down to your home county this evening to Limerick. First time down to the Markets Field actually this evening for the game against Cove. So looking forward to that. Hopefully might even see yourself, and hopefully it's going to be the start of a good weekend.
Yeah, well, I'll be down there as well, and I'm hoping, obviously, for a Treaty United win tonight, and a big thing is a Republic of Ireland win tomorrow. So I think you've just come off the press conference, Ger. So can you give me the squad update for the game tomorrow?
So it kind of seems to be always the case with Ireland. Always seems to be updates in between games and these international windows between players who's in and who's out. And good to see a couple of players come back in. Obviously, Callum Robinson, who was ruled out of the Portugal game due to COVID. Now, it was reported that there was a possibility he could be back for the Serbia game, but it's great to see he's even back for tomorrow night's game. Stephen said that he trained away in England yesterday. I presume that was with his club, West Brom, and he's going to be assessed and he's going to be looked at after training in Ireland today. Alan Brown has also joined up with the squad. I think he was identified as a close COVID case as well, so I think that ruled out his participation in Wednesday's game. And Liam Scales, who had been talked up as a backup option, all right, prior to the Portugal game, he has now joined the squad as well. Fantastic to see another League of Ireland player in the squad. Well, I suppose he's the next League of Ireland player now at this stage. The fact he's joined with Celtic, but someone I suppose who played in the league this year alongside James Talbot, and the two players to make way, Darragh O'Shea, as we know, who went off injured in the first half of that game. Looked a heavy enough injury he picked up against Portugal. And Nathan Collins has also been ruled out as well through injury. So 3 in, 2 out. Good to see a couple of attacking options, a couple of players in form, playing regular football at the clubs this season, which we touched on could be an issue going into this game, Gary, because a number of players who played so heroically Wednesday night, that was probably their first time to play 90 minutes, or certainly at that level, that intensity this season. And you just wonder what effect that would have them to go again in 72 hours later.
Yeah, I think, but these international windows are always tough. I mean, I think it's probably at the request of the clubs. The games have been pushed closer together, and unfortunately, then with COVID, we've come up with these three game windows, which are even more difficult. So it's 3 games in 6 days, and as you said, we haven't got players that are regularly playing 90 minutes. Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesday, whatever it is with their clubs. So it is going to be tough for them, and it's going to be tough again on Tuesday. It's really good to have some extra attacking options, because the way I see tomorrow's game, it's absolutely must win. I mean, yeah, I was delighted with the performance on Wednesday night. But as some people did say in advance, in many ways it was a free shot. It was a free bet. Look, Portugal are one of the top, 5-10 teams in the world. And we played incredibly well. I think we were desperately unlucky not to get something out of the game. But it's a totally different prospect tomorrow night, because I think we're really in must-win territory. Okay, we still have a faint chance of a playoff. I think it's unlikely. I think it's out of our hands. Even if we win every match, Serbia can still pip us for the playoff, and Portugal can pip us to top the group. So, but not just from keeping in contention, I think just a competitive win for Stephen Kenny has become so important, because I think we're all a bit optimistic as well after the Serbia game, because that was a decent performance, if not the right result. And just Luxembourg was just a total disaster. It was totally flat. And we just can't have a repeat of that tomorrow. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think some journalists have kind of touched on it, and even myself, there is kind of a sense of deja vu again going into this game. We had the harder away game in March against Serbia, where we had little or no expectation and came away from that kind of feeling kind of positive and upbeat. And then we had the Luxembourg game. We all know what happened there. And I'm the same as you as well. I think if we don't get a result tomorrow night, it'd be a case, once again, one step forward the Portugal game. But I think this could be 3 or 4 steps backwards if we don't get 3 points against Azerbaijan tomorrow night. Genuinely start to fear for Stephen's job for the second time in the space of a couple of months, if we were to lose to a couple of minnows. Now, I'm a little bit more optimistic going into tomorrow's game, because we were a little bit scary going into the Luxembourg game. We did feel that was a potential bananas game, because they had a couple of players playing in top leagues in Europe. In Portugal, they had your man Rodriguez playing the Champions League with Shakhtar Donetsk. lads playing in Germany. Azerbaijan, and they had been building for the last couple of years. I don't get that vibe and feel from Azerbaijan. I was looking through their squad, 20 of the 25 players named in the squad for this one play in their own league. Now, 9 of them are with Qarabag. We know they're a strong team in European pedigree in terms of making Champions League group stages and Europa League. Stephen Kenny touched on it there. They gave Aberdeen a fair beating in the Conference League playoff. So they do have players with decent pedigree, but like ourselves, they're pointless in this group. The summer internationals, yes, they bet Belarus. They were competitive against a Turkey team that wins the Euros, but they lost to Moldova. Nations League campaign, they had a lot of 0-0 draws. They took 6 points. They were in the league below us in League C. They did now draw with Montenegro, Cyprus, and actually Luxembourg, strange enough, were in that group. So I am a little bit more confident. I think we will get the job done tomorrow, but in typical kind of Irish fashion, we don't hammer these teams, and we do kind of struggle, and we're expected to bring the game to the opposition. I'm not expecting a flurry of goals. If you're offering me a 1-0 victory and it was the most scrappiest, ugliest goal ever, I wouldn't care less. As you said, we just need to get that monkey off the back and finally start carrying momentum that we build from games, because we probably built up some momentum in terms of performance against Slovakia in the playoff despite the disappointing result. Never to carry that through into the rest of that international window. Now, I know COVID didn't help, and the same as well as we touched on in March as well. One last thing as well, as you mentioned, the triple headers. Thanks for the gods, this is the last time around that there will be triple headers. It's going to go back to just its normal double standard games in the next international break, which will definitely help as well.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that, Gerard, but if you look at the international window for June 2022, you're right, we don't have a triple header, we actually have a quadruple header. So we have 4 Nations League games next June. But that will be at the end of the British and the winter season for most.
And the importance of them wouldn't be as significant as a qualifier. No, they obviously help for rankings. And fair enough, that is for the Euros. So we do know there was a better chance of getting the playoff through your Nations League ranking as opposed to the Nations League for the World Cup qualifiers.
It would also help our seeding for the Euros as well. I think it's absolutely crucial. We don't get relegated to make sure we get a decent seeding for the Euros. But coming back to tomorrow's match, I mean, we're talking about a result. I think the only acceptable result is a win. Yeah, I'd be very happy with a scrappy 1-0 win. It's as you say, just get the monkey off our backs. We need a competitive win. And frankly, we should be beating teams like Azerbaijan. And I think we will. I think their manager is actually under huge pressure as well. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm not too good on their names, but they have a player playing with Legia Warsaw, but he was actually left on the bench for the Luxembourg game and only came on at half time. And they're having huge problems scoring goals as well. I think they've only scored 2 in their last, 7 competitive games? And well, one of those was against Luxembourg. No, they are competitive. I mean, I think Serbia only beat them by a goal. Portugal beat them by a goal. Luxembourg only beat them by a goal, I suppose. But so I'd be very happy to beat them by a goal. But frankly, anything other than a win, as you say, would put massive pressure on Stephen Kenny, which would be a real pity because there were so many positives to take from Wednesday night's performance. And there are certainly signs that we have a good squad of players, a team coming together. And I think, Stephen, in some ways, I think we've said this before, I think the jury is still out. I hope and sure he will get at least till the end of this campaign. He may get next year's Nations League as well. But we have to start seeing results and consistent results as well as sparkling performances, because we can't have great performances interlinked with frankly really poor ones. So hopefully we'll have another good performance tomorrow and definitely a win. And but one thing I'd like to say, Gavin Bazunu actually said it, is he asked for the public to come out and support this team. And I'm really, really disappointed that there are tickets still on sale. The capacity is limited to 25,000, and the FAI are constantly, unfortunately, that they have to do this, that the FAI are pushing the ticket sales. And for God's sake, guys, I mean, if this team gets anyway successful, people will be crying out and screaming for tickets. It wasn't too long ago that our fans were saying, "Oh, we can't get tickets. We can't get tickets." You can get tickets. They're on Ticketmaster. You can't miss the FAI ads. It's at 5 o'clock on a Saturday. What's the problem? Why aren't you coming along to support the team? The cheapest tickets are only €30. And the same again for Tuesday in the Serbia match. They're still available. I mean, again, a top class side. Some top players coming on Tuesday. Vlahovic, he was linked for 100 million with so many clubs. Here's a chance to see him. He's only 22 years of age, a top striker. Hopefully we don't see him at his best. But and again, the tickets are on sale. They're being pushed. And I don't know how many is left, but I'm really, really disappointed that these games aren't sold out. And, well, they should be, particularly as the capacity is limited. I think it would look really, really bad if the government are limiting the capacity to 25,000, but it's going to look absolutely awful if we can't even sell that. And if the COVID limits aren't even the reason for the attendance at the game, I think that's going to look terrible. What do you think, guys? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. But I don't know. It doesn't sound. It doesn't look good to me.
Sure, first things first, come from a bit of a warning for me in terms of criticising people who can't go to tomorrow's game. I actually won't even be there myself due to other sporting commitments, having my own game. But I do agree with you, Gary. Like, you think even back to the last qualifying campaign under Mick McCarthy for these type of similar standard games against the likes of Gibraltar and Georgia, and they were midweek events, and we still got, I think there was over 30,000 at both them games. So you're kind of thinking, like, under normal circumstances, you'd at least be getting a good crowd for this. I remember Moldova as well, and the Martin O'Neill was nearly a full house. So I know that was fair enough. That was towards the end of a campaign, pushing for a playoff. But I'd say, like, it's going to be the first Ireland international in the Aviva Stadium with a crowd in nearly 22 months. You know, people dying and crying to get out to watch, you know, live football. Even like the League of Ireland games, the last couple of months have still only had restricted access. So some people who might want to get to a game might have to. Now with a bigger stadium, bigger capacity, there should be a good appetite. And it is disappointing, as you say. Maybe people might turn around and say it's all only because it's Azerbaijan, is the standard opposition, and might wait until Tuesday's game against Serbia because they're a decent team. But as you touched on as well, like, it's, as I mentioned, like, this is a weekend game. I can't remember what's the last time we've had a home qualifying game on a weekend, obviously with fans. Like 5 p.m. on Saturday, it's perfect. Even if you're only coming up and down to Dublin for the day, no matter where you are, you're still going to be home in good time. Most parts of Ireland are no more than a 2 or 3 hour drive from Dublin. So you'd still be home by 10 or 11 o'clock at the latest. You wouldn't have to leave that early in the morning. It's a good opportunity, as you say. It is disappointing because you say, like, we need to kind of, that's one thing we've been kind of crying out for, and there's been certain games under Stephen Kenny where things just haven't really got going, and it's been dead and been flat, and you're kind of saying, like, if we had the home crowd to kind of get behind us, now is kind of our perfect opportunity to do that tomorrow. But I still think as well, just from watching, I know you're saying we mightn't reach the full capacity. I know from watching some of the GA games in Croke Park, even they didn't, in the early stages, didn't set out the limited capacity they were out, but they still made pretty good noise at the stadium. They were rightly kind of spread out. So I imagine tomorrow, like, all sets of fans will be well spread out in both tiers across 4 stands. That still should hopefully create and get a decent atmosphere. And, you know, that's what we're kind of going to need to get, like, going tomorrow. Like, everyone kind of says, oh, you need nearly goal to kind of get things going. Tomorrow's going to be a night about patience. It mightn't just happen like that. We might have to wait until 60 or 70 minutes. So it's vital, really, from the word go, as fans decide, right, we're going to be the ones to set the tempo here in terms of atmosphere, not going to wait for nearly goal to kind of get us going. We realise now that we're going to have to really be the 12th man, get behind the team, and realise this is a night where they're going to need us all the way to the 90 minutes. Because, as we say, like, while this is a game we should be winning, it's the type of games we don't always maybe put up the scorelines we would like. Sometimes it's just about getting the result. And as I said, like, even going back to, like, a couple of the games against Georgia, it was the second half before we got the goal. It could very well be the same case again tomorrow.
Yeah, and it is, I mean, even though it's over a year on, it is going to be a momentous occasion for Stephen Kenny because, as you say, it's going to be his first game as a manager with home fans. I know he had fans in Hungary and he had fans in Portugal, but this is, and actually the first day, his first game officially with Irish fans, although there were certainly Irish fans in Budapest and there were quite a few fans got into Faro on Wednesday night. But this will be the first time.
Was there
Oh, Finland, yeah. Sorry, there was 6,000, and there was actually Irish fans.
There was, yeah.
Unfortunately, I was watching that at home on TV, but I do know quite a few Irish fans actually made that trip as well. Some of them very prominent on TV, and some of them undercover. But yeah, that's true. But it will be the first time that he's got home fans. I presume it's the first time he's going to be able to have his family there. It's going to be a very proud moment for him. And hopefully we can get the win. We'll have the crowd behind us. You were talking about the atmosphere. Even if we get a full house, even if we don't get a full house, or well, a half house, whatever you call the 25,000, I don't think we can have any complaints because I'm sure if there's any Bows fans watching, they're probably going to point out, and rightly so, there was a fantastic atmosphere in the Aviva, even though they were limited to 8,000. And even in Tala, with Rovers in Europe, I was at the Tuta game, which was only 1,500. I wasn't at the Flora game, which I think was 3,500.
Yeah.
But even at the Tuta game, there was a fine atmosphere, even with 1,500 there. So you don't need a full house to get a good atmosphere, to get vocal fans, etc. So hopefully there will be a good atmosphere tomorrow, and well, hopefully the rest of those tickets will sell out. But and I echo your statements. The crowd have to get behind the team and get behind the manager tomorrow, because if it is 0-0 going into the second half, etc., we're going to need the fans. Darren here, hi lads, how are you? Going to be great being back at the Aviva. And I think from Darren's avatar, he's clearly a Bows fan, so maybe he's been back at the Aviva already. But yeah, I'm certainly delighted. It's going to be my first Irish game at the Aviva since November 2019. So I have been there, fortunate enough to be there for the Cup final last year and for a couple of the Bows European games. And but it's. Yeah, Darren has clarified as well in the comments. As an Irish fan, he has, of course, been there supporting Bows. Yeah. Fantastic. They were absolutely, even as a neutral Irish fan, but obviously I support all our clubs in Europe. It was fantastic to be there watching Bows. And I know it would have been absolutely amazing as a Bows fan because they had some fantastic nights and fantastic atmosphere. And hopefully we'll have the same tomorrow.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Like even that could definitely spark as an inspiration for Ireland tomorrow. Like look at Bows, the 3 games they had in the Aviva during the summer in the qualifying, 3 victories. Like, and that's kind of the same motto and template that we want to kind of create tomorrow. And as you say, like I think even the first game actually against the Icelandic opposition was even only 6,000 at that. Like, and that still created a good atmosphere. So you're looking at to go to 4 times. Hopefully, fingers crossed that tomorrow. So as you say, like there is really still no excuses. We've seen like in other various sporting events throughout the world with social distancing in stadiums, even the Euros, prime example during the summer, atmosphere still can be kind of created. Let's hope that it gets a good atmosphere. And like as I say, we need the fans to kind of get behind the team. And even if things aren't kind of clicking and going out early on, you don't want to be here kind of moan and groans and players getting on, or fans getting on players' backs. It's like stick behind them, get through them. As I say, like I'm in the same boat as you. I kind of felt after Luxembourg game that even the hope of the playoff was probably dead in the water. I'm still very much feeling that. Definitely now after Wednesday night's results, obviously so close to picking up a point that might have kept small aspirations to playoff hope alive. But just to kind of get the whole kind of Kenny era going, because you still feel it hasn't really got goal. Like you wouldn't think that going into Wednesday night's game, we actually were 3 games unbeaten under Stephen, but you still just felt it hadn't really kind of taken off. And again, just even for world rankings, seedings going forward, these are competitive games. While aspirations making Tara might be done for the last 5 games, it's still about at least trying to finish third in the group, finish in double digits, and improve the standard and the rating. One thing that we touched on there at the start, Gary, obviously with players coming in, because some players have picked up knocks. It's been touched on as well how many players everyone was going to be assessed, because a lot of players hadn't played 90 minutes already this season. Team selection wise going into tomorrow night's game, what kind of changes are you, suppose maybe would you expect, or would you kind of like to see, or do you feel if everyone is fit and available for selection, obviously apart from Darragh O'Shea, who has been ruled out, would you still stick with the same 11?
Yeah, I would be very tempted to stick with the 11 that I was going to say that finished the game, but I suppose no, I don't mean the 11 that finished the game. I mean the 11 probably that started the second half with Andrew Omabamidele obviously replacing Darragh O'Shea, who's not available. I suppose the one big decision on that would be Callum Robinson, and I think Stephen could be very tempted to start him because I think he would have been certain to start had he been available in Faro. But well, Adam Ida had, I think, by nearly everybody's acclaim, his best ever game in an Irish shirt. I thought he was absolutely superb on Wednesday night. I was actually disappointed. I thought a lot of I was actually very impressed with Aaron Connolly's performance on Wednesday, and I thought he could have had at least one definite penalty and possibly a second. He seemed to get a lot of criticism online from Irish fans, which I was a bit disappointed about. Perhaps he hasn't had a lot of game time, so maybe it's his place that could be under threat from Callum Robinson. I'm not sure if we're going to see too many other changes, but of course, Stephen is seeing the players in training. He knows the effects the 90 minutes has had on them. So possibly we may see one or two more changes. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think for me, I would possibly go with Callum Robinson as well, because I know maybe it was touched on Stephen, like how is he obviously physically kind of feeling the fact that he's just coming back from COVID. But as he said, like he trained yesterday, he's going to be training again today. And in general, I'd agree with you. I think he was definitely going to be a fairly nailed on certainty to start, only for COVID. The form he's been in West Brom at the start of the season has been phenomenal, has been fantastic. I think he's going to be fresh legs. I think he can bring something different as well. I'd agree with you as well. I was very impressed with Adam Mead, even so I wouldn't feel the hesitation to drop him. I think maybe as well that they'd be two kind of different kind of players. You know, Adam Mead, as we showed, can kind of hold the ball up. He can win a couple of frees and stuff like that. Kind of bigger physical kind of presence. I know maybe he's not that awfully kind of physically big, but he certainly is quite tall. And Robinson would be a fairly similar type player to Aaron Connolly, that he'd bring that kind of liveliness and that kind of pace. I agree with you as well. I thought Aaron in the first half was very, very well. Like in the day, like he was constantly stretching the Portuguese defence. He was our main outlet in terms of attack, and got himself in good positions. Just unfortunately, maybe a little bit decision making kind of let him down. Definitely should have had a penalty for his chance in the second half when John Egan knocked down from him. I watched it back a couple of times on Sky Sports News. It's very obvious, man, nudged him, and it did put him off his strike. Like an interesting one as well, possibly Matt Doherty, because it has been well documented, and he confirmed himself in the press conference like he wasn't physically feeling the best. He was suffering through a bit of illness during that second half, but by far and away he had his strongest performance in an Irish shirt, or certainly maybe as he said, since the Denmark game, the last time we had a crowd at the Aviva. Seamus Coleman questions might be asked him because of age and stuff like that, but if he's feeling good and feeling fine, and after the way he played the night, I wouldn't see any reason why he dropped. Duffy and Egan, I think, are set in stone after their performance tonight. Could be looking at an option to shake it up in midfield. I think Josh Cullen, would be fairly safe there. Jamie McGrath, how was he after probably playing the highest intense game that he might have ever played in his career? So will he be able to kind of go again in 3 or 4 days? He wouldn't be used to as much that rotation as well. The Scottish League wouldn't have as many double game weeks as opposed to some of the lads in England. And
but then he was just superb, I thought, on Wednesday, though. I don't think there's any way Jamie McGrath is getting dropped. Maybe, as you say, but he's probably had more game time than most of the players, so he starts for me anyway.
Yeah, and as you say, then probably in terms of match fitness, like he wouldn't maybe find it hard to kind of recover. I was just kind of thinking like the quick turnaround in 3 or 4 days. St. Mirren normally only go from weekend to weekend as such. Like I know they do have that Scottish League Cup at the start of the season. Someone maybe I'd like to possibly kind of see come in. I touched on in the watch long. I kind of maybe would start in because we set piece delivery would be someone like Conor Hurahan, but we've seen the other night Jamie McGrath, like that delivery from the corner for John Egan was on the money. So maybe we have someone in a very good position there. I know I was quite critical of Jeff in my player ratings afterwards. Bloody flies keep getting in the way of the camera there, so that's why I constantly just move my hands. But I know I was a little bit kind of critical just for his final clearance towards the end. And look, I know it's maybe easy for me to kind of sit there and say you don't realise what way the ball kind of came in from, and tired efforts and stuff like that. And I'm not, in general, I've been quite focused, but I'm not a massive Jeff Hendrick fan either. But I couldn't really fault him overall in general for that second half display as well. But again, he's only had one game for Newcastle this season, but he's one of our more experienced players. He's more used to these quick turnarounds on the body at international level. So I would say he probably would also start again for me tomorrow evening.
Just some of the comments. Brendan Gannon, let's win this. Absolutely, Brendan, we have to win this. Jamie O'Regan, he says we should start Connolly. He also says, come on, Galway United. Not going to agree with you on... I'll agree with you on Aaron Connolly, but not on the Galway United, sorry. And I will be in DC Park on Friday week. That's I'm really looking forward to that one, but we're still focused on Cove Ramblers first. And Darren is back as well, the Bows fan. I think Connolly didn't have a good game at all. He needs to get a move. Yeah, I actually think he needs to get a move. I'd agree with that. Maybe just a loan move. Brighton have been struggling for goals, and I know they made a couple of deadline day signings as well. So I don't think he's going to start for Brighton. But I think, unfortunately, I don't think that's allowed now. I'm not sure where he could get a loan move to, what windows are still open or anything. But I hope he does get some good game time. Martin Malone, a fly, are you sure you're not checking the other guys, a Force Ghost from Star Wars with all the blue screen? I don't know, that's me, I think.
I think that one's directed towards me. I'm not a Star Wars fan, so I'm unfortunately completely out of the loop there, Martin, but I do appreciate where your joke is probably coming from anyway, so.
So, yeah, but that's about it, folks. I don't know if there's anything else to say at this stage. We're just totally focused, and hopefully by 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, we have Stephen Kenny's first competitive win on the board and 3 points. And because I think that's going to be absolutely crucial. And stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to have lots more content coming up over this international window. But we'll leave it there for now. And fingers crossed we get the win tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.
Cheers, Gary.